The Film God Forgives. I Don't was directed and written by Giuseppe Calizzi and produced by Enzo D'Ambrosio under the Chrono Cinematografica production banner, with distribution handled by Euro International Film. The production featured cinematography by Alfio Contini and a musical score composed by Carlo Rusticelli. Leading the cast is the iconic duo of Terence Hill as Cat Stevens and Bud Spencer as Hutch Bessie, starring alongside Frank Wolf as the villainous Bill San Antonio. The supporting cast includes Gina Rovira as Rose, Jose Manuel Martin as Bud, Luis Barbu as Tego, Tito Garcia as Tam Tam, Frank Branagh as Lou, Dietmar Skanher as Irish, Janos Bartha as Fivo, and Remo Capitani as Bill's henchman. The story of the 1967 film God Forgives I Don't begins with a chilling and atmospheric scene that sets the stage for a classic spaghetti western tale of greed and vengeance. A massive steam train chugs slowly into a quiet, dusty station, but there is something deeply wrong. As the train comes to a halt, the townspeople and officials realize that the silence from the carriages is the silence of death. Upon inspection, the train is found to be a rolling graveyard. Every single passenger has been massacred in cold blood, and the safe which carried a fortune in gold has been emptied. The robbery was professional and brutal. There is only one survivor, a man clinging to life who manages to whisper a name before he is overcome by his wounds. The name he speaks is Bill San Antonio. This sends shockwaves through the local community because Bill San Antonio is a notorious outlaw who was supposed to have died a year ago. The film then introduces us to the two protagonists who would become one of the most famous duos in cinema history. First we meet Cat, played by Terence Hill. Cat is a sharp, intelligent, and incredibly fast gunman. He is a man of few words but deep calculation. Soon after the train massacre, Cat is approached by an old acquaintance named Hutch Bessie, played by Bud Spencer. Hutch is a large, powerful man who now works as an insurance investigator. He is tasked with recovering the stolen gold for the railway company. Hutch tells Cat about the train robbery and the dying witness who named Bill San Antonio. Cat is skeptical because he was the one who supposedly killed Bill in a duel a year earlier. This news triggers a series of vivid flashbacks that explain the history between Cat and Bill. A year ago, Bill San Antonio was the leader of a gang and Cat was his friend and partner. During a tense game of cards, Bill accused Cat of cheating. The atmosphere in the house was thick with tension. Bill's loyal henchman Bud tossed a gun to Cat to make it a fair fight. Bill ordered the rest of his gang to leave the house but told Bud to set the building on fire once the duel began. The two men stood opposite each other as the flames began to lick the walls. They drew their weapons and Bill fell to the ground after being shot by Cat. As Cat emerged from the burning house, the gang members allowed him to leave because those were Bill's final orders. A funeral was held shortly after, and although a body was buried, it was so badly burned that it could never be truly identified. After the funeral, the gang discovered that their hidden stash of loot was missing. Bud the henchman claimed that Cat must have stolen it while the house was burning. Over the next year, Cat was frequently hunted by Bill's former men, but he managed to kill them all in self-defense while Bud eventually disappeared. In the present day, Cat begins to realize that he was set up. He remembers that the gun Bud handed him for the duel felt strange, and he suspects that the entire event was a charade designed by Bill to fake his own death and disappear with the gang's money. Cat decides to investigate for himself. He sneaks away in the middle of the night, taking Hutch's horse and leaving it further down the trail to throw Hutch off his scent. However, Hutch is a seasoned investigator and is not easily fooled. He follows Cat at a distance, knowing that Cat's personal connection to Bill will lead them straight to the gold. Cat eventually tracks down the secret hideout of Bill's new gang. It is a fortified location where Bill has been rebuilding his power in secret. As Cat tries to sneak into the house to confront his old enemy, he is caught by Bill's men. Just as things look dire, Hutch arrives and saves him. Despite their bickering, the two men realize they need each other to survive. Using Hutch's incredible physical strength, they manage to locate and remove a heavy box filled with the gold taken from the train. They drag the gold away from the hideout and bury it deep in the ground near some desolate cliffs. Once the gold is hidden, the partnership between Cat and Hutch immediately fractures. Hutch is an insurance agent and wants to return the gold to collect the legal percentage as a reward. Cat, however, is a gambler and an outlaw at heart. He wants the whole fortune for himself. The two men stand off against each other. They realize that if they fire their guns, the noise will alert Bill's gang, who are searching the area. Instead, they decide to settle their dispute with their fists. What follows is a brutal and drawn-out brawl. Cat uses his agility, swinging from tree branches and landing several kicks on the larger man. Hutch, however, is like a mountain. He absorbs the punishment and eventually lands a massive blow that knocks Cat out cold. As Hutch stands over the unconscious Cat, trying to catch his breath and clear his own dizzy head, he looks up to see the worst possible sight. Bill San Antonio and his entire gang have arrived and surrounded them. Bill San Antonio is indeed alive and more ruthless than ever. He takes Cat and Hutch captive and begins a process of brutal torture to find out the location of the buried gold. Bill knows the specific weaknesses of each man. He subjects Cat to water torture and Hutch to torture by fire. Despite the immense physical pain and the looming threat of death, neither man breaks. They know that as soon as they reveal the location of the gold, Bill will kill them instantly. Bill eventually has to leave the camp temporarily to meet with a secret political partner who helped facilitate the train robbery. He leaves the camp in the hands of his men, including Bud. Bud has recently fallen out of favor with Bill. Bill had whipped him for being too conspicuous in a nearby village and blamed him for allowing a witness to survive the train massacre. Sensing this tension, Cat begins to manipulate Bud. He suggests to Bud that Bill is going to kill him anyway, and that if Bud helps him escape, they can share the gold together. Bud's greed gets the better of him. He helps Cat get free and they go to the cliffs. After Cat digs up the heavy box, Bud prepares to shoot him and take the gold for himself. But Cat is faster. He finds a knife lying near the box and throws it with lethal precision, killing Bud on the spot. Meanwhile, back at the camp, Bill returns and is furious to find Cat and Bud gone. He sends his men out in all directions to find them. Bill himself, along with two bandits, tracks Cat to a small cantina in a nearby Mexican village. A tense standoff occurs inside the dusty bar. Cat manages to outdraw and kill Bill's two companions. Now held at gunpoint, Bill shows his true colors. He suggests to Cat that they should ditch Hutch and the rest of the gang and split the money just like the old days. Cat agrees to go with him, but he has his own plan. While this is happening, Hutch is still a prisoner at Bill's lair. 3 bandits are left behind to guard him and try to force the information out of him. Bill had assigned one specific man to guard the door and told him not to open it for anyone. While the bandits are distracted trying to figure out their next move, Hutch uses his legendary strength to break the wooden beam he is bound to. He ambushes his captors and in a flurry of violence beats them down and shoots the ones who try to break into his cell. Hutch is now free and he knows exactly where Cat and Bill are headed. The final confrontation takes place at the site where the gold was buried. Cat arrives with Bill. Cat wants to recreate the duel from a year ago, but this time he wants to make sure Bill dies for real. He sets up kegs of dynamite around the area and lights a long fuse. He tells Bill that they will have a stand-up duel and whoever wins gets to live and keep the gold if they can reach it before the explosion. As the fuse burns down and the 2 men move into their drawing positions, they are interrupted by Hutch. Hutch arrives with a rifle and orders both of them to drop their guns. He is angry and wants the gold for the insurance company. Hutch asks about the box. Cat warns him that while the box is there, the contents might not be what he expects. As Hutch tries to open the box while keeping his eyes on the 2 outlaws, the situation turns deadly. The fuse is almost at the dynamite. Bill draws a hidden derringer from his sleeve and shoots Hutch. Cat reacts instantly, throwing a hidden knife that wounds Bill's hand. The 2 then dive for their revolvers and a final gunfight erupts. Cat is the superior marksman. He shoots Bill's other hand and then shoots both of Bill's knees so he cannot escape. Hutch is unconscious from his wound. Cat grabs him and carries him to safety behind some rocks. Bill realizes he is trapped as the fuse reaches the dynamite. In a desperate final act, the crippled Bill crawls toward the kegs trying to bite off the burning fuse with his teeth, but he is too late. A massive explosion rocks the cliffs, destroying Bill's San Antonio and the hideout once and for all. In the concluding scene, Hutch slowly regains consciousness. He finds himself lying on a wagon being driven by Cat. Behind them are the bags of gold recovered from the ruins. Cat tells Hutch that he has a bullet graze on his head that needs to be tended to. He also tells him that they will have a final discussion about the fate of the gold once Hutch is strong enough to hold a gun again. The film ends with the 2 men riding off into the horizon, their partnership as volatile and uncertain as ever.